Remember when Hillary Clinton said this?
That's horrifying. You know, every time Donald thinks things are not going in his direction, he claims whatever it is rigged against him. That is not the way our democracy works. We've been around for 240 years. We've had free and fair elections. We've accepted the outcomes when we may not have liked them. And that is what must be expected of anyone standing on a debate stage during a general election.
Well, that was then and this is now, and she's apparently no longer practicing what she preaches. Her campaign now joining last-place finisher Jill Stein's Green Party recount effort in a couple of key battleground states. But is this just a fundraising scam? Here for a fair and balanced debate, we've got Democratic strategist and 2008 Clinton campaign advisor Richard Goodstein and former deputy assistant to President George W. Bush, Brad Blakeman. Guys, thanks very much for joining us.
Sure.
Richard, let's start with you. Do you think this is really a good idea?
Here's what I think, Steve. Donald Trump got less than 47% of the vote. He lost by over 2 million votes. Is there a single viewer, do you think, out there now who thinks that if this was not the other way, if Hillary Clinton had won the Electoral College but had squeaked by a point or by a fifth of a point in all these states, that Donald Trump, who boasted about the fact that he would not respect the election results, even if they were clear.
Right.
Is there a single viewer you think you have right now,
Richard,
who doesn't believe that Trump would be screaming bloody murder?
Richard,
no.
do you really think the Russians rigged the election?
Here's what I think.
Just a yes or no. It's just a yes or no.
What we know is that the Russians put out fake news and they put out WikiLeaks. We know that. We know they tried to influence the election to help Donald Trump. We know that. And the fact that Trump has responded in this fevered way makes me wonder, actually, does he know something that the rest of us don't?
Okay.
That's actually made more questions, I think, than we had before the weekend started. That's what I actually think.
All right. Brad, ultimately, what do you think is going on here? I mean, it's one thing if the person who finishes second calls for the recount, but in Wisconsin, Jill Stein finished fourth.
Look, this is Hillary-driven. Jill Stein is just the pawn in Hillary's game to delegitimize Donald Trump's victory and to raise money. I mean, it's the biggest scam that we've ever seen in politics. And the bottom line is we know the Russians did not fix the election. Richard knows that. The American people know that. And Donald Trump won. He won fair and square. Yet Democrats, because he did not win the popular vote, seek to delegitimize him as the president. I think it's awful for their party. They should move on. They've got infighting on the leadership this week in the House. They have infighting going on as to who's going to be the next leader of the Democratic Party. They have bigger fish to fry than this, and it's demeaning for their party.
Richard, take a look at this. Fundraising page just keeps changing for Jill Stein. Attorney's fees are likely to be $1 million. Attorney's fees are about $2 to $3 million. Total cost is about $6 to $7 million. As it turns out, they've already got $6.1 million, I think, and I think the total cost would be just $2.5 million. So she's already got some money in the bank to help train future Green Party candidates, which is what they were going to do with the leftover money. It does look to some, including Bradley, that it's a scam.
Yeah. Here's what we'll know it's a scam, Steve. If she does not only have these recount challenges in Wisconsin, but Michigan and Pennsylvania, and doesn't spend all this money for recount, yes, it was a scam. Incidentally, this was not Hillary Clinton's initiative. This is something that once Jill Stein, this is her right, incidentally, under the law. She's not trying to do anything that's outside the law. This is perfectly within her right, as long as she pays for it. And if she does, Hillary Clinton's basically saying, fine, I'll go along. My 46+ million voters probably look to me to show some ability to kind of win this thing if I can. That's all.
Brad, ultimately, it's just, don't you think the Democrats are just trying to cast doubt on the presidency of Donald Trump?
There's no doubt about it. And, Richard, here's what I want to know. I want to know who's donating to this effort. And I want to know how much they donated. Would you agree that this should be totally transparent and we should know who the donors are and the amounts that were given? Because that'll tell you the story, whether this is organic and whether this is individuals who are concerned giving $5 or $10, or whether it's George Soros who's just writing the check.
Great questions. Well, all right, Richard and Brad, we thank you very much for joining us for this first debate after Thanksgiving.
Yes, indeed.
Guys, thank you very much.